Now on Denver 7 News at 7 o'clock on Local 3, Denver police were in a shootout overnight. What led to the exchange with officers that locked down a neighborhood.
It is another ozone alert day today, but one group says Colorado's air quality is so bad it's worth suing over the claims they're bringing to the EPA.
Can the Avs keep more of their Stanley Cup winning team?
We're going to try to build this team back up so we can try and repeat this.
We're breaking down their latest roster moves.
Yeah, being a Stanley Cup champ could be a big payday for the players, even though we want them all to stay and win it again. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Jessica Crawford. We're also following some breaking tech news. Twitter appears to be slowly coming back after a widespread outage, but you don't need tweets to tell you that it is going to be another hot day.
So true. Yeah.
That's right. 99 degrees yesterday, today 97. It's going to be a very hot one with scattered afternoon thunderstorms, a possibility later on today. So keep that in your mind as you're making plans for later this afternoon. Our air quality warning in effect until 4 o'clock this afternoon. That's for high ozone levels. So you'll notice that kind of cloud haze across the area later today as that heat holds everything in. Temperatures in the 90s all the way through 5 o'clock. We'll have scattered afternoon thunderstorms. Once we get from 3 o'clock on, we at least have that chance here for the area. Temperatures in the mid to upper 90s here. We'll have triple digits up toward Fort Collins and Sterling, and our forecast highs all throughout the metro will be in the upper 90s from Littleton to Denver into Aurora with scattered storms.
We've had a bunch of problems here this morning, and some of them are being cleared up, others not so much. All right, so on I-70, this is over by Kipling Ward Road. This is the eastbound side. The construction is gone, but you can still see some slower traffic on the westbound side trying to get past Ward Road. Had some road work out that way as well, so looks like we're still a little slower than average out there to the west side. Take a look at the overall map. You still see most of the heavy traffic across downtown, I-70, 270, and here to the north side. Now from the camera to 104th, you can see that traffic is a little bit sluggish for us. Had a crash over by the Thornton Parkway. All lanes are open. It's way over to the side, but still, as you can see on the drive time, it's hanging up the traffic a bit up to that north side. Still I-70, 270, a bit busy for, especially through this lowered section that we will have a lot more to talk about coming up in a little bit. And we have that officer-involved shooting that still has this section of Washington closed down north of I-70. So between 47th and 51st, you can use Broadway or Lincoln Street to get around it right now.
Thank you, Jason. Well, new from overnight, Denver police are looking for at least 2 people that ran away from a police shooting. Happened in the Globeville neighborhood. Officers were following a vehicle after someone called 911 about people with weapons. When 2 officers moved in, there was gunfire from the car. Police shot back and hit one person. 3 people were arrested at the scene, but no officers were hurt. But the way Denver handles low-level, non-violent 911 calls is now a model for national legislation introduced by Colorado Senator Michael Bennet. Denver 7's Colette Bordelon joins us live downtown this morning with how the STAR program here could help cities around the country.
That stands for Support Team Assisted Response, Brian. Basically, the way it works is an EMT is paired with a behavioral health clinician. They go out and respond to those lower level 911 calls. So the ones that are related to mental health issues, substance use disorder, or people experiencing homelessness. Now, since the STAR program launched in June of 2020, they've responded to thousands of calls. Our partners at the Denver Post say their strategy will serve as a model for other cities under a new bill introduced by Senator Michael Bennet on Wednesday. Basically, it would fund programs similar to the STAR program in other places. In June of this year, Stanford released the results of a study where they found a drop in crime during the STAR pilot program. And those behind the research say they have evidence it's possible to reinvent the way we even think of a 911 response. They also found the STAR program saved money and called the results extraordinarily promising, while also saying there needs to be more pilot programs and studies to make sure permanent reform is done correctly. Now, on the STAR program's website, it does say as they hire on more staff, they're hoping to serve every part of the city. So what that would mean is that they could respond from 6 in the morning to 10 at night, 7 days a week, once they get that extra staff on and in any part of the city. It also says they've bought 5 more vans to help with that response, but because of supply chain issues, they don't have them yet, and they're supposed to be delivered in the spring. We'll also keep a close eye on Senator Bennett's bill, too. Live in Denver, Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
Colette, thank you. We have an update to a Denver 7 investigation. San Luis Valley DA Alonzo Payne says he'll now resign. The governor appointed Attorney General Phil Weiser as the interim DA for the 12th Judicial District. We told you yesterday an independent monitor would oversee Payne's office after finding he violated victims' rights. Our Denver 7 investigative team dug into several complaints, including questionable plea deals and not following up with victims as required by law. Payne was facing a recall election because of those complaints. Mesa County's district attorney says that he'll seek to revoke Tina Peters' bond. Colorado Public Radio reports Peters left the state violating the conditions of her bond. DA Dan Rubenstein says that Peters spoke at an event with the Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Organization in Nevada. Peters was arrested on 10 charges earlier this year for allegedly helping an unauthorized person access the country's election equipment. A former elections manager for Peters has been indicted for allegedly tampering with voting equipment. Sandra Brown turned herself in on Monday on multiple felony charges. They include suspicion of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation and attempting to influence a public servant.
Firefighters are making good progress on a wildfire burning near Morrison. The Snow Creek fire is now 75% contained. Crews will be back on the fire line this morning to finish mopping up. But since the Marshall Fire, we are all much more aware of the fire danger in our neighborhoods. And Golden is starting a series of 5 meetings tonight after updating its community wildfire protection plan.
We'll be coming out there with some firefighters with some equipment. We'll be talking about the prevention strategy. Our fire marshal will be coming out and talking about what we can do in the neighborhoods. And the reason about coming out to the neighborhoods is it's tailored to the fuel types and the topography types that are listed in those particular neighborhoods. We want to make sure that we have an understanding and we can point things out that the homeowners can rectify.
And they want to make sure homeowners can be there. The meetings are on evenings and weekends. You can find the full schedule on the City of Golden's website.
Increasing emissions from the Suncor oil refinery are up for debate. According to a lengthy draft permit filed by the state's Air Pollution Control Division, the Commerce City refinery would be allowed to increase its toxin pollutants by 90 tons. This week, the division is seeking public feedback before submitting the plan to the EPA. Some asked for the permits to be swiftly approved, while environmentalists say Suncor's production disproportionately impacts low-income people of color.
Acts of environmental racism are still racist, no matter how many permits are required for them.
Suncor is a big part of our domestic production and making Colorado an energy exporter and contributing to our nation's energy independence.
Despite the various viewpoints, state regulators emphasize the permit will be issued as long as it complies with state and federal law. A decision is expected in the fall. Well, it's not just another hot day, it's also an ozone alert day. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta joins us live with what we can do and a group trying to force the EPA to take a closer look at our air quality.
Well, CDPHE officials say they're not the only ones who think the smog is really bad here. The Center for Biological Diversity, they think it's so bad, it's actually worth suing over. They think the state can do a lot more to limit oil and gas drilling. So ultimately, they want the EPA to start really cracking down on some of the state's ozone violations, so much so that they filed that lawsuit. That was just yesterday. That lawsuit would, quote, force it to require Colorado rather, to limit pollution from drilling and hydraulic fracturing for oil and methane gas in the metro Denver area. The group says it believes we will never solve our smog problem unless the EPA puts an end to unlimited air pollution from drilling and fracking. The lawsuit does target the EPA for not requiring Colorado to account for ozone contributions by minor sources of pollutants or from a temporary source. Now, the group went on to say not only do these practices cause some health concerns, but also ultimately they hurt on our environment, things like aspen trees, which we have so many of in our community. In Lakewood, I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Veronica, thank you. The Better Business Bureau is getting multiple complaints about an online ammo shop. What's wrong with the way it asks you to pay?
And you can get a taste of our state's prehistoric past, the tour that's fun, and don't say it too loud, but educational for the whole family this summer.